All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Oh, I know at least one person is looking for this. Uh, Someone in my personal circle said, "Hey, I saw you were going live in a little bit, and you are addressing a very, very interesting topic." Well, I think all of the topics I address over here are interesting, but he said, "I can't wait to see it." All right, so I'm not going to go long. I know that someone much bigger I think he's been going recently during this time slot. So I actually want to hear what he has to say. I think those in the know who that is. So I won't say who it is. But yes, I have a piece here that I'm going to read. It's a short piece, but I thought it was interesting. And especially with what's going on now in society, in the country, in our world. I thought that this would make for a good live stream. Sheed, what's going on? Everybody smash that like button if you're coming in. I'm going to play my short intro, and then I'm going to adjust this music behind me. I have Spotify playing. I thought it would relax me a little bit, but it's kind of distracting me a little bit. So I'm going to play my intro, and then I'm going to jump in here, and then I'm going to finish up. Because of where I come from, see, in this world, we're all living in different worlds, and not everybody is privy to the same information. Well, gentlemen, thank you. Thank you for this second discussion on this controversial but important topic. Do either of you have any parting words?
I do. And it's just thank you for having us. I really appreciate it. You ask questions in such a way that I don't know what your perspective is. I think as a host, that's exactly perfect. It's difficult, but you get more on the table from guests if you're not the story. And I really, really appreciate talking to you.
All right. I appreciate that.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Anwar.
Because of where I come from, see, in this world, we're all living in different worlds, and not everybody is privy to the same information. All right, everyone. Hey, welcome back to Big Discussions 76, my original channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. YouTubing is a funny game. It's a sweet science, just like boxing. And well, Sheed can attest to this. You know, you'll see your subscriber count go up, and then sometimes the numbers will bleed down, and then they'll be back. And then sometimes you don't know if people are just getting frustrated and they unsub you, so you don't know. So I'm just doing a thought piece tonight based upon an article that I saw online. But next week, Uncle Ron Wills, has agreed to come back and do another Q&A with me. I like to have him come and talk. He likes to come back, and we're going to talk about the business of YouTubing. So I thought that would be fun to discuss, because that's a whole topic all in itself. And you know, we'll stray into some of the areas that I think some of you find exciting, but we're going to be talking about the business of YouTubing. So today is it's going to be a bit of a thought piece based upon an article that I saw online. As I've described, every morning I wake up, open up my browser, specifically my Microsoft Edge browser, and there are articles everywhere. And sometimes I see something interesting that I think would be good to feature over here. And based upon what's happening now in society and in the digital spaces, and we have the election coming up, there are all kinds of things happening with the country right now. And I think I said this here before, at the church I attend here in the DMV, the pastor did say probably a couple of weeks ago that there are a lot of people that are concerned about the the 2024 election in terms of the direction of the country and what's going to happen. I won't go into details right now, but it's almost as though there's a perfect storm brewing, and it's not quite clear what's going to come out of everything. But I'm going to get to the article. So Ron Wills is going to come back and talk to me next week. And as soon as I'm working on finishing Dr. Tia-San Johnson's book here, and I want to make this more of a podcast, interview more authors and subject matter experts. Dr. T is a author and a subject matter expert, and I will be spending some time up in the air over the next 2 weeks. So I'm hoping to knock this out pretty quickly and then have him come in and do a Q&A with me. So look out for that. He cooks in this book. This is, well, like a lot of content over here, I'm sure that interview is going to, even though he's from the academy, and to some degree I'm from the academy, it's going to offend somebody. Tonight's stream, this is going to offend somebody. You can't say something today without offending somebody. All right. So, and you all keep letting me know what you think in the chat as I go through this. Ebony K. Williams did not inspire this stream. James Sexton, who did the soft underbelly video about marriage and divorce, that did not inspire this live stream. I just happened to find this article as these things were going on. So before I jump in, I will say a few words about Ebony K. Williams. It's very interesting that she would come out and make the comments that she's made. I think it's good for her to say that. If you don't know, go look it up. I think everybody in the chat knows what I'm talking about. I think it's powerful for her to say what she said. Question is, how long will she hold that position? Is this just a publicity stunt? Is it just to keep herself in the cycle and the algorithm right now? But I think it relates to what I'm going to read tonight. But I want to applaud her for now for stepping up and saying what she said about pregnancy and marriage and things that college age young women should be thinking about when they're in college. But I'm not going to talk about that in detail. If you haven't heard about it and you're curious about it, go look at The Breakfast Club, and that will bring up lots and lots of videos. Please smash that like button if you haven't. Those are free. The likes are free. If you want to make a donation, the super chat is live, and my Cash App and PayPal are here. So this article, I found this article, or maybe the artificial intelligence presented it to me, right? Maybe it presented it to me. YouTube is using some sort of artificial intelligence, and I think maybe everything else is. So maybe they know what you like reading, or maybe they know, maybe the technology is tracking what you click on, and maybe it presented this to me. I don't know, but this stood out to me. So before I jump in, I'm going to say one other thing. I am not an expert on marriage. I'm far from it. I was engaged once, right? So as I'm reading this and giving commentary on it, this is just kind of reporting, and it's just kind of talking about what's going on. But I am not myself professing or claiming to be an expert on marriage, because I'm not married and I've never been. But there are a lot of things in this article that people are grappling with today. All right. Also, there is an election coming up, as I described. So I think it's important, because this is going to ramp up really soon, especially after the new year. And all sides are going to go into full campaign mode. And all of us are going to be hit with so many messages, some of which are filled with propaganda. And I think that it's advantageous if you know in your mind what they're talking about, even if the politicians in the mainstream media are giving us propaganda. It's good if you know the actual data, and it's good if you know the actual economics and the actual political science so that you can sift through the BS that they're giving you and you know what's going on. All right. So, man, tomorrow has entered the building. Thank you for everyone who was here. All right. So this piece, now I'm going to get in trouble for this. This is going to offend somebody. This one actually comes from Fox. So I consider myself to be an independent. Some might argue with that. But this piece, this is an opinion piece. And it actually comes from Fox. Okay. T. Riddler, I'm not going to answer that. There are quite a few who wouldn't. Now, before I play this, there's a lot of data in here. There are a lot of percentages and facts and figures quoted in here. So I'm going to play this drop from my science channel. If you all are not subscribed to my science channel, please consider subscribing. I could use more subs over there. And I kind of feel like YouTube might be suppressing the subs over there. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm not presenting the general narratives that are typically associated with the science sector, but I feel like there's something funky going on over there. But this is a drop from my science channel, and I thought it would be appropriate to set this up.
For example, some people worry, why am I showing so many charts? Because you know why? Words are very bad because they are able to deceive you. You have to learn them. Every time they say this and that, you ask them, where is the data? I want to see the data.
That was Dr. Willie Soon. He's a climate denier. And I used that drop because in that particular drop over there on my channel, that's my science channel, I talk about the climate debate a lot because I've been trying to understand it. And that particular drop involves seeing data as opposed to just believing people and what they say and believing their words and their emotions and their propaganda. Show me the data. I want to see the data. So there's some data quoted in here. All right. This is entitled Feminist Journalist Blames Conservative Policies for Decline of Married Parents. Okay. Just that title alone is going to offend somebody. So if you're offended and you want to turn this off, that's perfectly fine. I didn't write it, but I thought it was worth presenting. So that gets to the thumbnail. I think Raheem Gaines here. Where is he? Raheem Gaines, stand up. Raheem Gaines, he liked the thumbnail. The thumbnail is the Spider-Man imposter thumbnail where they're pointing at each other. I think that might have been from the original Spider-Man series where they're pointing at each other. I think one of them is an impersonator, but that picture has made its rounds around social media and Twitter. And I thought that was appropriate because basically what we're gonna see in this article is that this feminist journalist from CNN, she's saying to the conservatives, you guys are the ones who have caused the low marriage rates in the single parent homes. So I thought that was an appropriate thumbnail. All right. Please keep letting me know what you think in the chat. This article is below in the description box. And I also learned over the weekend that if YouTube doesn't like the links, the article links that you share, they will go ahead and snatch down the links in your description box. That happened to the Saturday stream over on my science channel. Late at night, I checked my phone on Saturday night, and it said we removed something from your channel. I thought they took the video down. Fortunately, they left the video up, but they took two specific links down. And I think it's because those links are highlighting something that they don't want highlighted. Anyway, so this link is below for now. If it disappears, then it wasn't me who took it away. All right. How do you get rid of these things? All right. Well, you guys saw the title. Feminist journalist blames conservative policies for decline of married parents. And this is a hot topic right now, marriage. Okay. Feminist journalist Jill Filipovich claimed conservative policies were responsible for unequal outcomes seen between married and unmarried families in this country. In a CNN opinion piece, Filipovich responded to economist Melissa Kearney's new book that argues married two-parent households provide the best economic futures for children. Okay? So even that will probably offend somebody. Filipovich claimed this readily apparent but still provocative message isn't a result of a leftward shift in the culture's views on marriage and family. Instead, she argued these results are because Republican policies on abortion, the economy, and healthcare have created a culture where many people are unable to get married or raise children in stable households. Okay, so again, I'm not presenting this as a marriage expert because I'm far from it. I've never done it. She knows a hell of a lot more about marriage than me. So does Isada. But these are relevant topics for our society right now. And this channel now, I'm trying to build it into more of a think tank and a thought hub. A closer look at the facts on the ground, though, shows that the problem isn't a cultural rejection of marriage or a nationwide feminist rejection of the nuclear family, I wish, she wrote. The problem is that decades of largely conservative policy making have fueled inequality, gutted the working class, left a generation of men isolated and underemployed and unmoored, impoverished families, and made it harder for women to both control their own fertility and find suitable partners. Okay, that's Miss Filipovich right there. She's a very lovely woman. I think that's her and her husband and her child right there. Feminist writer Jill Filipovich argued conservative policies made marriage difficult for the poor and working class. I think that's her on the left-hand side. The feminist writer made the case that attitudes toward marriage haven't changed. Marriage is still a respected institution in this country, but people are waiting longer and seeking financial stability for themselves and their partners before entering into marriage. Sheed, I would love to hear what content you create off this. I'm not planning to do a panel tonight, but I would love to see or hear how this is making your wheels turn. Once again, everyone, the super chat is live, and my Cash App and PayPal are here if you want to drop something in the collection plate. I'm surprised Man of Tomorrow hasn't said more. Please smash that like button if you haven't. If you're new, please consider subscribing to the channel. All of those are free, and they help out a great deal. All right. But for too many people, heterosexual women especially, that very basic standard isn't being met by the men around them. And the GOP is at least partly to blame, she claimed. The writer pointed out to conservative opposition to raising the minimum wage and universal child care, abortion bans, and support for a stricter criminal justice system as policy. I'm sorry. I'm going to start that over. The writer pointed to conservative opposition to raising the minimum wage and universal child care, abortion bans, and support for a stricter criminal justice system as policy positions that have led to lower levels of marriage and higher levels of children born out of wedlock among the less educated and racial minorities. Okay, so it looks like here she's, if she was quoted correctly, right now she's focusing racial minorities. So most likely Black people. The women who are living the feminist dream, on the other hand, who graduate from college, who wait to find love before getting married, who delay childbearing and focus on their careers, and who largely vote for Democrats, have lower rates. Okay, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. Let me keep this. Let me keep this objective here, because this kind of flies in the face of what Ebony was talking about on the Breakfast Club. Okay, this kind of clashes with that. All right, so let me start that paragraph over. Okay, the women who are living the feminist dream, on the other hand, who graduated from college, who wait to find love before getting married, who delay childbearing and focus on their careers, and who largely vote for Democrats, have lower rates of single parenthood and higher rates of marriage. They also have fewer children and have them later, but their children wind up better off. That's in parentheses. Okay, so what's written here about have lower rates of single parenthood, that's consistent with what Ebony said, because, well, if you're not having children, there'll be no single parenthood. Okay. This other point here, they also have fewer children and have them later, but their children wind up better off. Now, a lot of people would debate that. Okay. In other words, this doesn't seem to be about liberal or feminist ideals, but conservative policies, she argued. I want to thank Adrian for the generous super chat. He says, don't get me in trouble here, Adrian. A few months back, I think I sent you a no-fault divorce email detailing how Reagan, as California governor, signed no-fault divorce in 1969. Yeah. So there are a lot of people looking back at the Reagan administration and the Reagan policies, which in some instances were hailed as being pro-American and making America great again. But there's a lot of people are concluding that the Reagan policies actually screwed the generations that came later in a lot of different ways. I definitely agree that deindustrialization has hurt the country, and that's hurt the middle class, and it's hurt families. I think the deindustrialization I think it's kind of shoved a lot of people toward the white collar route, and I think the white collar route isn't for everybody. So whoever put that into place, yeah, I think they really screwed a lot of people in our country over, regardless of which side that was. Okay. All right. I'm almost done here. The journalist pushed for the United States to adopt more liberal policies in these matters to shrink this gap. So more liberal policies. More liberal policies. She proposed making the increased child tax credit permanent. Okay. I don't have children, so I'm not an expert on that. I think what you get tax breaks for the number of children that you have. For those of you in the know in the chat, let me know. Adrian, thank you again for that generous super chat. She proposed. Okay, I already read that. Okay, so here we go. Lecturing women to get married before they have babies and then shaming single moms isn't working. What does work to help kids and families, giving women and men alike the ability to marry into mutually stable, supportive, and financially viable relationships, while also supporting all children, regardless of who their parents are. In America, we don't do that. Not because of liberals and feminists, but because of self-styled pro-family conservatives and their home in the Republican party, she slammed. We're almost done, everyone, I promise. Filipovich's opinion piece comes on the heels of a new poll showing more Americans are pessimistic about marriage than optimistic. So if you haven't, I'm sure all of you have seen it. If you're new here, you should go over and look at look up James Sexton, the divorce attorney. Yeah, that he made waves about a month ago when Soft Underbelly, I'm not sure if that's the full name. When that video came out, that video did numbers. Okay. And he has some very, very interesting things to say about marriage and divorce and all of it. He describes it as a technology. He describes it as an outdated technology and a bit of a gamble and very much a crapshoot, and one which should not be embarked upon without the proper safeties, i.e., prenups. So, James Sexton, if you're new here, look that up. All right. So here's the data. According to the Pew Research Center, 40% of Americans are pessimistic about marriage and family, while just 26% of those polled said they were optimistic about these institutions. So I think this very much depends on your, I think Aaron Clary also slammed Dave Ramsey recently because of Dave's, get married mantra. So Aaron Clary slammed Dave Ramsey about that last week. But I think it very much depends on your spiritual faith and also your culture and your background and what kind of environment you were brought up in and what kind of environment you're in now in terms of your attitudes towards marriage. Because there are people who are positive about it, and there are communities that are successful at it, and there are communities that make it work really well, and there are success stories like she there in the chat as well. So your opinions on it are gonna vary. I'm gonna read Shonda's comment here. I'm surprised Ray Alexander hasn't showed up. I'm sure I thought for sure once Ray smelled this title out, and I'm sure once Ray sensed this title, he'd come over, but he must be doing something else. Shonda says, Reagan and Nixon's policies were all active in funneling crack cocaine heavily in the Black community in the 1970s and 1980s, while also criminalizing what they planted. That affects marriage and family too. Yeah, no disagreements there. All right, let me wrap this up. Nearly half of adults polled, 49%, believed the trend of children being raised by unmarried parents will have a negative impact on the country's future. So I wonder what that must mean. Well, we don't know what the other 51% thought. They're not talking about this here. We'd have to go pull the Pew research. That could be 51% thought the opposite, or there could be a group that's undecided. But certainly if nuclear families are that important, then having more children born to single families would be harmful to the country, assuming that was true. Okay, while the traditional nuclear family, a husband and wife raising children together, was the most quote unquote acceptable type of family arrangement in the poll, a majority of Americans also said children being raised by a single parent or by parents that were not married was also acceptable. Let me read that again. While the traditional nuclear family, a husband and wife raising children together, was the most acceptable type of family arrangement in the poll, a majority of Americans also said children being raised by a single parent or by parents that were not married was also acceptable. So maybe that's the 51%. It's without seeing the bar charts and the pie charts, it's hard to tell what that last paragraph. It was kind of gray and nebulous. Oh, Sir Tice has entered the building. Sir Tice says he owes an apology to Shannon B. Sir Tice also says, you were right about that dude. Okay, he's talking to this other gentleman here. So I don't know what this all is involving. Okay. Michael Ross says, no, that's unacceptable. He says, salute, doctor. Ignore that comment. And Shonda is thanking T. Riddler for his I think T. Riddler lauded Shonda for her comment. No, Sir Tice, I'm actually wrapping up. I'm actually multitasking here, and I wanted to. I saw this article that I thought was interesting to present here, based upon what's going on. Once again, everyone, I did not decide to present this because of Ebony K. Williams. I did not decide to present this because of the James Sexton video. I just saw this the other day, and I thought that as I'm in between interviews here, I like to do thought pieces, and I thought that this would make a good thought piece. And that's where the thumbnail comes from. So this woman, Jill Filipovich, she's from the CNN side. I looked her up on Twitter. That's what people do today. People look each other up on Twitter and dig up with whatever they can dig up, and they see what you're talking about. And I looked her up. I didn't go digging through her tweets and threads and mentions, because I don't have time to do that. But she's from the CNN camp. She's from the liberal side. Depending upon who you're talking to, saying liberal's not a bad word. Well, depending upon who you're talking to, but conservative, definitely, depending upon who you're talking to, is a bad word. So I might be getting myself in trouble just by reading this title. Raheem Gaines says, more government money and ending pregnancies is the feminist answer to everything. Okay, interesting. Really Chris has entered the chat. Hello, Really Chris. Always good to see you. And Salchi the Equalizer has entered the chat as well. What's going on, Salchi? Let's see. The fact that you all are here means the person I thought might go live around this time slot has not gone live. So that means this person is not live, because he's much bigger than me. But there were a number of interesting things in here. I'm going to wrap this up shortly. I have watched content from economists. Not everybody is a Dr. Thomas Sowell fan. A lot of people can't stand Dr. Thomas Sowell, but his buddy and contemporary, the late Dr. Walter E. Williams, said the same thing. I noticed that she emphasized the minimum wage piece, and most economists will tell you that the one part of the minimum wage piece that they don't tell you about is that if you raise the minimum wage, that's going to equate to fewer jobs for those people who are working those minimum wage jobs. So you can argue, yeah, we need to raise the minimum wage. We need to make it a livable wage. But were those jobs ever meant to be? Were they ever meant to support people full time? And also, there's a pot, and once you increase the amount of wage for people in the pot, you can pay fewer people. So when you're listening to things like this, when you're listening to these arguments, it's important to understand the what and the why and the principles behind what's being said. Because sometimes it's propaganda and sometimes it's not all the way accurate. All right, everyone. I'm going to wrap this up. I have some other things to do, and I'm doing a Q&A with someone else. I'm supposed to be doing a Q&A with someone else over on my sports channel later on, and that's going to end late, so I need to eat before we do that one. So I just wanted to come on and do this short informational piece and this quick discussion of this article. The piece is here. It's also below in the description box. YouTube actually takes down, I learned this over the weekend, they also take down links in your description box as well if they think it's spam, and if they don't like the links that are in your description box, they will take those down from your videos as well. So the article link is here if you guys want to copy for yourselves. And if you want to follow the woman who the article discusses, she's on Twitter. I looked her up. This is her right here. This is Jill Filipovich. If you want to follow her and see what she has to say most of the time. Let's see, writer, author, CNN columnist, recovering lawyer, and yogi. I think that means she does yoga. I write about women's rights, U.S. politics, and foreign affairs. Okay. I don't watch CNN, so this is my first time seeing this person. So I'm going to read this comment from Sir Tice. How the heck does one blame so-called conservatives at Raheem Gaines? You're making it like conservatives supported those laws. Raheem Gaines says conservatives need to take blame for marriage decline given their indifference to the dangers of divorce and family court. All right, I'll read one more. You guys are going to get me in trouble here. Michael Ross says, salute, Doc. Enjoy your evening. Raheem Gaines says, assertized conservatives have a problem with single men. They ignore single men's very real concerns when it comes to marriage. They don't inspire single men like Democrats inspire single women. You know what? One other thing I'll say about this is that when you're reading pieces like this, and when you're listening to this type of argument and discussion, you have to. One of the things she talked about in the piece was basically women not having educated women, highly accomplished women, not having enough mate choices. Okay, that's a huge talking point right now. But you also need to think about the work by Richard Reeves, who has done work on how so many boys have fallen out of the system, and how so many boys, not just Black boys, but boys of other ethnic groups, he talks about how so many of them are disaffected today, and how the school system doesn't facilitate their success in a way that it used to. You have to keep in mind how things have changed, how the systems have changed, how education has changed, and how and which gender the school systems actually cater to, and whether or not there should be separate schools for boys. When you're reading pieces like that, you need to keep in mind Richard Reeves' work. I know Dr. T.S. Johnson has taken him to task a little bit. We'll talk about that when Dr. Johnson comes for the Q&A here. You also have to think about Stephen Shaw's work. Stephen Shaw has done a lot of work on population decline, not just here in the United States, but also around the world. So there are other parts to this. That's what I'm trying to say. There are other parts to this. And recently, Ebony Williams has come in and given us a different part to this whole boondoggle. Let's see. Sir Tai says, also a man should inspire himself, not look to political factions. And he says, Doc, that's because the bulk of those women are not attractive. Okay. And there's studies that prove this literally. Interesting. Okay. Sir Tice is bringing the data. He's bringing the facts. All right. So everyone, if you want this, Sir Tice has put that there in the chat. I will take a look at it in my spare time when I finish. I will actually see if I can copy this. Trying to copy it. Raheem Gaines says, Sir Tice, nothing is absolute, but they can't inspire enough single men right now. They only won single men by 7 points in last year's midterms, but the Democrats won single women by almost 40 points. Salchi says, fertility typically declines in advanced societies. I've heard that as well. Uh-oh. Mr. Deion Sanders is here. He says conservatives have dropped the ball on single men, engaging Black voters. Everything they come into contact with, they fumble. Okay. Okay, we have the Richard Banks book. That's made an appearance in the chat. Let's see. Sir Tice says, Raheem Gaines, bruh, that's a false equivalency. Women vote generally because they see more benefits because they're dependent on government. Those that think like that. Salute to Salchi. Shonda has brought up the Richard Banks book. There's a book by Ralph Richard Banks, Is Marriage for White People? How the African-American Marriage Decline Affects Everyone. Yeah, I think I have that here. I know I think I read that years ago. I may have to reread it. T. Riddler says, Sir Tice, attraction is objective. Why would you make sweeping generalizations like that on Doc's page? This isn't the space for that. So yeah, so let me put this disclaimer out here. For those people coming in watching this who have never been here, the views in the chat don't necessarily reflect the views of the host. Sir Tice, I don't know what that symbol is, by Salchi. And then Sir Tice says, great book, she cites. Okay, it's got Sir Tice's endorsement. Yeah. By the way, everyone, if you're on Twitter, I used to have more than one account, but I closed down the other one since I just showed you Jill Filipovich's Twitter. My current Twitter is at Big Words Are Powerful. If you're still over there on Twitter X, please consider subscribing to me. Help me build that one up while the platform is still live. I deleted the other one, my original one. I had over 1,000 subs there, but I'm going to say this, then I'm going to jump off. But again, people will today be mindful of your social media. People will, whether it's employers or plus ones, new plus ones, people will drag through your social media to see what you were talking about and to see who you were talking to and to see who you supported and to see people will dig through your social media. So be careful what you put out there. So I closed one down because I couldn't go back and clean up 5 years worth of stuff. Your Twitter goes back 5 years for those of you who don't know. Anyway, I'm going to read these two and then I'm going to wrap this up. Yes, Salchi, I think we follow each other on Twitter right now. Sir Tice says, people are overgeneralizing so-called conservatives, and you're talking about what I'm saying as it relates to many modern women. Come on, man. And then Raheem Gaines says, Sir Tice, how is it a false equivalency when what I said is true? Single men are not a priority to either party, but the GOP will pay a greater price for it. All right, I think that's a good place to stop. That's a good place to stop. I think you guys know each other on Facebook too. on fascist book or fake book. They removed something from one of my pages over there too. So everywhere information is being policed. Sir Tai says, Raheem Gaines, please stop conflating GOP with conservatives. I'm not a fan of the GOP. How conservatives are presented in Black is what I'm referring to. Yeah, well, conservative, depending upon who you're talking to, that's a really, really bad word. T. Riddler says, what's for dinner tonight, Doc? Well, T. Riddler, I had this meal that became my go-to during COVID. It's called the COVID special. It's baked salmon, the way my mother bakes it, yellow parboiled rice, and steamed green beans with potato and onion. The onion turns to liquid after a while, but you still have green beans and potato that you can chew. It's a very good meal. I enjoy it. Protein, starch, vegetable, not fried. All right, everyone. I'm not going to show my newsletter. You guys have seen that ad nauseum, so I won't browbeat you with that today. But this is Big Discussions 76, my original channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you want to donate something to the channel, that information is below in the description box. You can also leave a super thanks if you were moved by something here. The link for my newsletter is in the description box below. Thank you to everyone who signed up. This will probably spawn more conversations once I think about it. I think Sheet is probably gone. She usually does his live streams in the morning. I'll be curious to hear if he thinks anything about this or anything that I've said. Once again, there's an election. There's a big election coming up, and the propaganda and all the messaging and the posturing and the pontificating and the theatrics, all of that is going to be shot at us in hyper speed in the next year. So with that, everyone, enjoy the rest of your night. As always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Always try to do your best. Take care, and I will talk to you the next time. Bye-bye.